Maiya, Eclipse War. Prologue, the first crack. There was a time the sky was whole. Before the darkness bled through its seams. Before names were burned into stone and lives etched into echoes. Before a huntress stood before a god. And chose. Not to reign. Not to destroy. But to balance. They called her Maiya. Daughter of the Lifestealer. Slayer of the Blood Lords. Huntress of the Final Seal. She walked where others fled, bowed to no throne, and bore the weight of a weapon that fed on life itself. She could have ruled kingdoms. She could have broken the world. She chose not to. But balance is not peace. The bow, Seraviel, remains. Not silent. Not dead. Only waiting. For power once used cannot be unused. And some doors, once opened, do not close so easily. In the deep beneath the vein, where even time forgets to turn, something watches. It remembers her arrow. It remembers her name. And it remembers hunger. Some say the story ended when the sky healed. They are wrong. Because balance is not stillness. It is tension. Held. Barely. And somewhere, far from the eyes of men and gods, the sky murmurs again. Just a whisper. A hairline fracture. The first crack. She will be needed again. Chapter 1, Ashes and Omens. The wind carried the scent of cinders. Maiya crouched atop a charred outcropping at the edge of a ravaged hill, her cloak billowing like smoke against the dusky twilight. Ash curled upward from the scorched grass, dancing on unseen currents. The village below, once Bondhaven's outermost settlement, was a blackened husk. Houses collapsed into skeletons of timber. Fences twisted into charcoal fangs. Even the earth itself looked burned hollow, as if the fire had reached beneath the soil and taken root in the bones of the land. She had seen war before. Too many times. But this wasn't war. This was witness. Nothing living remained, and yet, the silence refused to settle. The crows didn't cry. The wind didn't sigh. The world stood still, as if afraid to inhale what lingered. Maiya's boots crunched softly on a layer of brittle soot as she descended the ridge. Her eyes, sharp as flint, scanned the remains with measured precision. No footprints. No bodies. No blood. Only shadows. The village had simply vanished. She knelt by what used to be a well. Its stones were split, as though from within. Her gloved fingers traced one of the fractures, cautiously, reverently, and paused. A symbol. Carved roughly, hastily. A broken eye, the iris ringed in fire. She didn't need to search her memory. She had seen it before. The mark of the Eclipse cult. Her breath caught in her throat. She straightened slowly, heart beating in time with a storm yet to arrive. The cult had been silent for months, disbanded, or so the council believed. But this wasn't the work of scavengers or zealots. This was ritual. Intentional. Sacrificial. And then came the whisper. She watches. The voice wasn't external. It curled up from inside her chest, behind her ears, in the marrow of her bones. A presence. Soft, feminine, ancient. She closed her eyes. The bow. The bow of the silver moon, Seraviel, hung across her back, and even without touching it, she could feel it stir. A tremor of sentience. Its voice had been growing louder, clearer, since Eldoria's fall. Speak plainly, she muttered aloud. But there was no reply. Only the oppressive silence. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the corner of her vision. She turned sharply, drawing an arrow in one seamless motion. The string thrummed beneath her fingers as she took aim. Nothing. Her gaze darted to the smoldering remains of the chapel. The stained glass windows had melted into warped crimson tears. Inside, movement stirred again. She advanced, every step slow and deliberate. The air here was wrong. It pulsed, subtly, as though time ticked to another rhythm. Her heart slowed. Her breath fogged in short bursts, despite the warmth of the ashes. As she stepped inside the chapel, her arrow still knocked, she saw it. Not a figure. Not yet. A reflection. In the shattered glass at the far end of the hall, something moved. A silhouette of a woman, standing where the altar once was. Silver hair, flowing like water. A long cloak embroidered with stars. A face turned away, but somehow, unmistakably familiar. Her. Or something wearing her shape. Maiya didn't breathe. She shifted her aim fractionally. Who are you? The figure didn't respond. Only turned, slowly, and for an instant, she saw the face. Her face. But, aged. Not by years, but by lifetimes. The skin pale as moonstone, the eyes rimmed with darkness. A brand burned across the forehead, a sigil of the lifesteal queen. Then it vanished. The mirror cracked. Maiya stumbled back, teeth gritted. The arrow fell from her fingers. Her breath came in short, harsh bursts now. A dream. No. A vision. She turned back toward the doorway, every sense on edge. And nearly loosed another arrow when she found herself face to face with a man. Peace, Huntress, he said quickly, raising both hands. His cloak was tattered but bore the insignia of the Dawn Wardens, Kale's people. Maiya blinked the remnants of the vision from her eyes. Identify yourself. Commander Heroine. Second under General Kale. He nodded at her bow. You're as the stories say. A ghost with silver eyes. Am I late? She asked. Heroine grimaced. Only by hours. But it was enough. Maiya lowered her bow. What happened? They came from the sky. Not soldiers, light. A rift above the chapel opened like a maw. And then fire. No heat. Just, light that ate. He glanced around. We had scouts. They vanished without a sound. And the symbol. Yes, Maiya said quietly. The cult is not gone. No, his expression was haunted. They are changed. That night, they made camp at the ridge. A dozen soldiers remained, shaken, tired, and silent. Even their fires flickered uneasily, as though afraid of the dark. Maiya sat apart from them, her back against a cold boulder, fingers tracing the crescent pattern etched into the bow's spine. Heroine approached carefully. General Kale requested a message be delivered if you arrived. Maiya looked up. What message? Heroine's voice dropped. He summoned a council at the observatory. Astralara. 2 nights hence. Maiya narrowed her eyes. The ebb and eclipse. Heroine nodded. They're calling it prophecy. He says the sky sings of it now. Star maps shifting. The moon weeping. Maiya glanced toward the heavens. Clouds hid the stars. And the council? Divided, he said bitterly. Some believe you're the key to balance. Others, he hesitated, to its destruction. Maiya said nothing. But there's more, Heroine added, leaning close. A prisoner. Found wandering the ruins. Her gaze snapped to his. A girl, he continued. Maybe 17. Half mad. Covered in ash. Speaking in riddles. What kind? She said. The bow remembers. The blood returns. The sky will break in threes. Maia's fingers froze. Heroine looked uneasy. We thought it nonsense. But the last thing she said was your name. They found the girl in a canvas tent, her arms bound gently in healing wraps. She sat rocking slowly, humming a tune that echoed too perfectly, too tonally exact, like a memory looping. Maiya knelt before her. What's your name? The girl looked up. Her eyes were mismatched, one violet, one pure white. Her lips split into a smile that didn't match her youth. You've come, she whispered. Maiya kept her tone calm. What did you see? The girl tilted her head. Not what. When? I've seen you before. Maia's chest tightened. Where? The girl's voice was a sing-song chant now. You wore the mark in silver fire. You drank the light, became the liar. You will choose and you will fall. And never live to see it all. Maiya inhaled sharply. The girl's face darkened. He's watching, Huntress. The god without eyes. He moves through glass and prayer. And you, she grinned, you are his favorite sin. Then her body seized. The tent shook. A flash of heat split the air. Maiya moved on instinct, grabbing the girl's hands. A pulse of power leapt from the child's skin, images burst behind her eyes. Runes carved into stars. A black sun rising. A bough, snapped in half and burning. Then nothing. The girl slumped, unconscious. Alive, but drained. Maiya backed away, her heart pounding. This wasn't a prophecy. This was a warning. Later, long past midnight, Maiya sat on the hilltop alone. She stared at the stars as clouds parted, and for the first time, saw it clearly. A thin, vertical crack in the sky itself. Subtle. Faint. But there. Like glass had been etched by a knife. The sky was breaking. She rose slowly, the weight of Seraviel heavy across her back. It was beginning again. The last war had been fought to contain the darkness. This one might be fought to decide what replaces it. Her eyes narrowed. Eclipses were never just shadows. They were omens.
In the shadow of a broken sky, I walked alone where the lost gods lie. A name unspoken, a vow unmade. I chose the path where the brave hearts fade. Ash to ash and star to star, I carry the wound of every scar. But I will not fall, I will not kneel. My will is the blade, my choice the seal. I am the bow, I am the light. I burn through the endless night. No crown, no chain, no throne. afterlife.